Hello, this is HTB bungee cord, and I'm going to give a quick showing on how I use my crimping pliers. Okay, these are a pair of Husky pliers that I modified, and what I do is I just kind of smooth down these jaws here so they don't cut the bungee cord, and then I cut notches in here to accommodate the 3 different sizes of hog rings. Even though this is a very simple thing, a lot of times people don't quite get what's going on here. So considering I do this for a living, I want to go ahead and give a quick lesson on how I crimp bungee cord and basically how easy it can be. We got 3/16, 1/4 inch, and 3/8 inch bungee cord. Okay, 1/4 inch, you can do a couple different ways. All of them are the same. Okay, you can hold the ring in the pliers. That's what the grooves are for. It holds the ring in there. Okay, you can easily set the pliers down. It's still holding the ring. You can loop your cord in the manner that we're going to do now. If you were like putting a hook on here, you only wanted a small crimp. Okay, you bend your cord, get a tight bend on it, and you just push your ring on there. And then you just crimp them down. Okay, all these sizes, then you use the center of the pliers, kind of roll the ring a little bit, and it's simple as that. Another way of crimping is that you could actually put the ring on the cord itself, if you wanted to do it this way. Push the ring on the cord, then use your pliers, the tips. Crush the cord or the ring, and then use the center part of the pliers to kind of roll the edges down and give you a nice crimp like that as well. Either way that works for you. You know, sometimes you need to have both hands, but as you can see, you can put the ring in the pliers, and these aren't locking or anything like that. You just easily set the pliers down, get your cord in a bend where you want to have it, and go ahead and push your ring through. Just close them down. Use the center to kind of roll, get yourself a nice crimp. The reason why I like using these kind of pliers compared to what they make crimping pliers for is that the handles, you know, they got this coating on it, and if you're doing hundreds of crimps or even thousands, having a comfortable pair of pliers will definitely keep the blisters down. So that's the whole point of modifying a pair of pliers to your specific needs. Okay, you take the cord, you push it in there. Use the jaws a little bit to crimp them down. And there's a crimp. Now if you were putting like a S-hook, a carabiner, some other type of fastener that could be put on the cord prior to crimping it, you make a nice little loop here, crimp it, and like when I do an end like this, I would put a piece of heat shrink on here, crimp it, and then after I cut it, I would put the heat shrink up here and just heat over these joints and just give it a nice neat appearance over time. If you're using something that needed to be put on the cord prior to crimping, like a J-hook, you put the hook on here, bend the cord, then cut it, and then slide your hook up. Okay, this is a standard J-hook. You would just slide this on here on the cord, and then after you crimp it, it would sit up into the cone shape just like that. Any other fastener that you can crimp on later, like an S-hook, you just put it on here, crimp it, and then it's up to you what you want to do in this area. Okay, a lot of times I'll put a piece of heat shrink on here after I cut it, put it up here, then right over a heat gun, just melt it on there, and then it's good for the course of time. Okay, that procedure works for pretty much all these cords. Okay, going up to the 3/8, the same kind of thing. You just bend the cord, you can slide your ring on this way, then use your pliers up at the tips, give you maximum leverage. Crush the ring, and then use your center part of the pliers to kind of roll the edges around. And that gives you a crimp. And then again, if you want to do it with the pliers, Grab a ring, set them in the jaws. You can set your pliers down, get your cord. Use the center part of the pliers, kind of crimp them a little bit. And there you go. Set your ring and your pliers. You can come in, roll the cord in. Crimp. Same thing with the other kind of fasteners, you know, J-hook, put it on the cord, make a tight bend like this, cut it. If you want to take time to heat the end to get all the fray ends off, go right ahead, and then you just slide your hook up. If you're concerned about possibly the ring giving out, then you can put 2 or even 3 rings on there just for extra holding power. But it's as simple as that. Same deal, the smaller 3/16 cord. Basically the same procedure for doing that. You can bend the cord, slide your ring on, quick crimp the jaws of the pliers, and then use the center to kind of roll the edges just a little bit. Gives you a nice tight bend. And that's pretty much it. And then, like all the other rings, these 3 sizes at least, go ahead, set your ring in there. Okay, the pliers will sit down. Go ahead and bend your cord. You know, sometimes you need 2 hands to work the cord, and then you just slide your cord through the rig, crush your ends, use the center part of the pliers a little bit to roll them, and that's bungee crimping 101. Like I said in the beginning, I smoothed these down a little bit so you can do what you just saw when you roll the edges of the crimp down, that they're not real sharp, so they're not going to cut the braiding at all. And that's excuse me, that is crimping bungee 101. Okay, so like you saw with the smaller size bungee cords, the 7/16 is the largest cord at this time that I have in stock, and there's a little bit more technique to crimping this particular cord. Get a good look at the hog ring here. You can see how much bigger they are compared to the other sizes, and the pliers are basically the same. You saw a newer version of the pliers. Okay, I modified the 7/16 crimping pliers a little bit different. They need to be the groove and the jaws need to be a little bit bigger than the previous sizes, and pretty much the same crimping techniques are used for crimping the 7/16. Now you can do it the same way. You put them in the pliers, get them in there. You can sit the pliers down if you have to. Use both hands on the cord. You bend your cord, and you can slide your ring on this way, and you get your where you want your ring to be, and crush it. Now what you do with this particular cord, what makes this different than the previous sizes, is you just get your 2 sides to touch each other, and the other ones all you had to do is kind of roll the edges, but this one you need to crush the center in. You crush the center in and see how it bows in the edges a little bit, and then you roll the corners in. Okay, you get a very nice, neat crimp there, and it's very strong. Okay, the other hog rings that you saw on the smaller sizes are blunts, and these are sharp. They got a little bit of point on the ends here, which makes doing this crimp a little bit easier. Okay, anytime I do a cord that does like a carabiner or an S-hook or whatever, a lot of times I will double crimp this, and when I make these particular or use this particular cord for the dog leashes, dog extensions, or anything like that, I'll actually put 3 or 4 of the hog rings in there for holding power. And then it's just the easiest, just touch the ends, you crush the center in, kind of get the little bow there, and then you just roll them in. get a nice crimp. Okay, this one, then you cut your excess off, you put a piece of heat shrink over this for a nice neat appearance. Also, it helps keep the braiding from fraying over time. And then you can put an S-hook, a carabiner, any type of fastener that can be put on after. But if you're using something with a solid end, you'd have to put the end on here and then crimp the cord. Same with, like I showed you earlier with the S-hooks, or excuse me, the J-hooks. You'd have to put the J-hook on and then crimp the cord, and then you just slide your hook up. Okay, again, like the other cords, you can put the ring on the pliers or just bend the cord, put the ring on, and then just crush it. Get the two corners or tips to touch each other, crush it in, and roll the two sides in. And if you were putting a J hook on, that's exactly how you put your hook on, with the hook coming up, and then that would be it. Okay, this is the J hook that you would use for the 7/16. You would basically slide the hook on. You would make a crimp just like that. You would bend it over, crimp it, and then cut the excess off, and then you just slide the hook on. Okay, if you had a piece of hardware like a ring or something that was solid that could not be put on a cord after it was crimped, you'd have to put it on and then go ahead and crimp your cord. But if you were using like a piece of heat shrink or something to that effect to put on the crimp after, you want to make sure you put your heat shrink on, then your end, and then go ahead and crimp the cord once or twice, then put your heat shrink on, heat it, and then you have a finished end. So it's as simple as that.